This video is designed to educate you guys about what sort of weights, what sort of sizes that guys should be expecting when you're purchasing a hatchling snake. I show some snakes that are a month old, some snakes that are about 6 weeks old, some snakes that are about 3 and 4 months old, and what their weights are. Healthy snakes that have been eating consistently. And this is really kind of a promotional video about Snake Limited and the sort of quality hatchlings that I'm producing here every single week. You know what you're getting from me. These snakes are feeding, they're healthy, they're coming to you with bright, shiny eyes, ready to go. And I really want you guys to kind of learn from this video and consider the sort of snakes that you're purchasing. It's not always just about the price point. It's about the quality of the snake too. Hey guys, welcome back to Snake Limited. Today I wanted to talk about the sizes of the snakes that you're purchasing. I've personally received some snakes, some hatchlings, younger snakes that I was kind of shocked when they got here how small they were, considering they were several months old. I'm not going to name names, but I received a snake that was 3 months old, and the size wasn't listed, but it was from a reputable breeder, so I figured, okay, you know, it's going to be 150 grams, 200 grams. It was 85 grams, which is what snakes typically, ball pythons anyways, come out of their eggs at. You know, my hatchlings are usually around 70 to 80 grams when they come out of eggs. If not, they're, you know, on the low end 60, and within one meal, they should be around 80 grams or so. So this snake was 3 months old and was 85 grams, the same size as snakes that I was hatching at the same exact time that I received that male. So luckily he started eating, you know, right away, and I haven't had feeding issues, but I was shocked by that. And I highly recommend when you're buying hatchlings that you request the weight of a snake, because if you're buying a snake that was born 10 months ago and it's still only 200 grams, either the breeder was maintenance feeding or underfeeding that snake, or it's not a good eater, and you really don't want to deal with any of that. So I wanted to go through some of the snakes that I have bred this year, and some of the snakes I'm actually shipping out tonight, and show you what weights they're at to kind of give you guys a good reference as to, okay, this snake hatched a month ago and it should weigh roughly around this weight. So now this girl is kind of one of a kind. She hatched like the first week of April of this year and has just completely defied the odds in terms of how ball pythons are supposed to grow. So she is, I believe, a Super OD leopard fire yellow belly. She's not gonna let me get her head here. Het Ultramel. Come on, dude, turn around. There we go. And she has been eating like a little piggy, but she's not fat, as you can see, and she's already 560 grams. That is literally what, 5 months old, and this snake is that big already. So now I would not say it's typical that your snakes are going to be gaining an average weight of 100 grams per month after they hatch. Or no, she's only 4 months old. So yeah, okay, we're in August. So it's not typical that they're going to gain that much weight that fast, but she literally never refuses a meal. And, you know, the quicker you get them onto the bigger prey sizes, obviously they start growing faster. But this female here, Leia, who's a holdback, she was born, and I named her Leia because she was born on May the 4th. So she is, today's August 1st, by the way, just so you guys know. So that's 3 months, and here she is here. And let's see what she weighs. 310. So she's 3 months old, almost, she's a little under 3 months old, and she's already over 300 grams. And again, as you can see, she's not a fatty. I'm not overfeeding her. I'm not power feeding her. She typically takes, you know, the 1 meal per week. Doesn't really refuse meals for me ever. And she's quickly outgrowing this, you know, 10 series rack sooner than later, she's going to be, moving into a probably a 55 series, because once the snakes start getting 400, 500, 600 grams, they can still fit in here, but they start making messes when they go to the bathroom. So now let me show you a snake that just took its first meal. My last video actually showcased these leopard lessers and clowns. And here's one of my holdbacks here. Beautiful little girl here. Just had her first meal yesterday. And let's see, we're on 0. She is already between 90 and 95 grams. This scale doesn't do, single digits. So let's just say she's 90 grams. First meal, 90 grams. And I'll actually go through some of the other snakes in this clutch. This is the female that has not eaten as of right now. So let's get her. Okay. She has not eaten yet. She's the only one in the clutch that didn't take her first meal. And see, she's tiny. She's 60 grams out of the egg without having a meal in her. Let's see what else we got. There are 4 other babies in here. So let's weigh them all real fast. All of these other snakes have had their first meals. So let's see what he is. 85. All right. And that one that didn't eat was the runt coming out of the eggs. So that probably explains why she hasn't eaten yet and why she's so small compared to the rest of these guys. 80 grams. So by the time these guys have their third meal, they're going to be well over 100 grams when I go to ship them out to their new homes. So, when you're getting a baby snake, they should probably be over 100 grams by the time you get it. 85. I bet you they're over 100 grams with their next meal. Judging by they should be on adult mice at that point. 90. So 2 of them are at 90, 2 of them are 85, 2 of them are at 80. So those are all snakes after their first meals. All right, let's move on to a couple snakes that are about a month and a half old. These guys hatched around the end of June. So let's just say they're maybe 6 weeks old. We have a nice spot nose combo here. Let's see what he's at. 160 grams. All right, and let's do this double het clown pied right next to him. Shout out to High Res Reptiles. That's who they're going to here in a couple weeks. Let's weigh them out. 160 grams. So they've probably had. I stopped keeping track of meals after they have 3 or 4. But I only had 4 marked down here, so at 6 weeks they've probably had 6 meals. So those guys are already at 160 grams. Now let's take another snake that was born on May the 4th. I think that's a clutch mate from the one I'm keeping, if I remember correctly. 220. So this one ate a little bit less, but this is May the 4th, so it's a 3-month-old snake, and it's 220 grams. A little smaller than the other one. I think over 300. And let's see, I think I have other ones. Yeah, these 2 are actually getting shipped out today. Ooh, we got a fresh shed in here. So these 2 are getting shipped. Oh, so that's gonna be nice. Whoever's getting this one, Bidum Reptiles, they're gonna have a fresh shed on this male here. What's he weighing at? 185. So he's 185 at 3 months old. Now let's see what this girl weighs. 190, 185, 190. So 3 months old, roughly 200 grams or so, I think would probably be the average. All right, now let's move to some snakes that are roughly about 1 month old. These were hatched, let's see, on around the 7th of July. So this is clutch number 11. Let's pull out a couple snakes from this clutch here. Let's see. This pretty little pied head ultramel. 120 grams. So it's a month old, a little under a month old, 120 grams. Let's take another one here. I think it's from the same clutch. Yep. Again, a month old, pied head ultra male, roughly the same size. 120 grams. 1 month old snake, 120 grams. And as you can see, the weights are all consistent unless they are picky eaters. Now, the snakes, when I'm selling them versus my holdbacks, I might push them a little more in terms of what the meal size is, because I don't keep enough or produce enough food to feed bigger than adult mice to all of my hatchlings. So typically after the first or second meal, all of my hatchlings get put onto adult mice. If they're not taking frozen thaw, they're getting live adult mice. And I try to switch everybody over to frozen thawed at that point. After a couple more meals, the holdbacks, I try to start feeding something a little bigger. As I'm able to get, weaned rats or something similar size, I start feeding those to my snakes. Because they're more expensive, because they cost more, because they're harder to get, or I can't produce enough, I don't start feeding those to my snakes that I'm releasing. But typically at that point, the snakes are up to a month old, month and a half old, and they're going to new homes anyways at that point. And the new owner of the snake can switch them over to a bigger prey item. Now, if there's something that just doesn't get sold and I have to have it here for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, then it starts to eat just like all the other snakes do. As they're starting to get older, I don't keep them on mice anymore at that point. But, that's something, this whole thing is something that you guys need to be aware of when you're buying snakes. I don't think there's enough kind of like buying education going on. There's unfortunately probably been people that get away with just maintenance feeding their snakes, just making sure they have a meal so they stay alive. Even because some of these people, they're breeding a lot of snakes and snakes that don't sell fast. And right now there's a lot of snakes out there, and a lot of people have snakes in their racks that aren't being sold because there's too many of them, because they're too expensive, because they're not willing to sell them for cheaper prices. So they're just sitting in their racks, and rather than just selling them to somebody who's going to give them a good home, they are keeping them in the racks, maintenance feeding these snakes, and they're not growing. These snakes here, like the month-olds, which are the ones that are ready to fly, they're over 100 grams. Most of your snakes that are ready to ship should be over 100 grams. I don't think I've ever actually shipped a snake under 100 grams unless it was a picky eater that somebody was well aware of, that I probably gave them a discount for, that knows what they're getting into. But I still don't honestly know if I've ever actually sold a snake that was under 100 grams, because that means they're not eating really at all. That one snake I showed you hasn't taken its first meal yet. Came out of the egg, 60 grams. As soon as it eats, it's going to be 80 grams. As soon as it eats again, it's going to be over 100 grams probably. So if you're getting a snake that's under 100 grams, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 months old, it's probably not really eating, or started off out of the egg really small. Maybe it was a 20-gram snake when it came out of the egg, and it was feeding on like pinky mice or something similar. You still want to know what the history of that snake is and why it's so small. But this kind of shows you what you should be looking for, what's a decent or a respectful weight for a snake at a certain age, what you should be expecting when you're purchasing a snake. And not to toot my own horn, but it kind of conveys the quality of the snakes I'm actually releasing out of my facility. I make sure that they're all healthy. I make sure they're all a decent size and that they're feeding. The process that I put these snakes through, from the time they hatch to the time they leave the door, is pretty consistent. And other than you get one snake every once in a while that just doesn't want to eat, which is going to happen with anything, just like, like deformities or anything crazy that happens. Every once in a while you get a snake that just doesn't want food. That happens, and those don't get released until they're eating consistently. Everything else, they're on the same meal plan, they're on the same regimen, and it works over and over and over again. That's the sort of stuff that you're looking to get into, and that's the sort of stuff that you're getting from me.